Yes, everyone. Hello. How are you? How are you,
Hello.
Jaleh? How are you,
How are
Hassan?
you?
I'm good.
Nice
How
to
are
be
you, everyone?
back.
Yes. And I want to say first, everyone, welcome. And this episode will be our last episode before summer holiday. I hope it will not happen some special things, so we don't need to come in the holiday. But about like 1 month, we will not be here. So this is the last episode before uh, summer holiday. So today we will talk about Islamic terror in Norway, and also we will talk about a very important topic, Islam and homosexuality. And Hassan have one presentation to us. I'm excited to see. Yes, and once again, Islamic terrorism took place in some places in the world, and this time in Oslo, in Norway. As usual, the Islamic terror targeted civilians and especially gays. Unfortunately, it was not the first time, and it will not be the last one if we don't fight the Islamic extremism. So, in the middle of the Pride celebration, an Islamist jihadi opened fire at the nightclub Per på Hjørnet and the London pub in Oslo, which is a favorite among many LGBT people. At least two people were killed and 21 injured. 10 were in a serious condition on Saturday, 25 June. We know that the terrorist name is Zaniar Matapour. He was born in Iran, and he came with his family to Norway as a refugee in 1991. He was then 12 years old. Since 2015, this is very interesting. Since 2015, he has been in the spotlight of the Police Security Service (PSD) due to suspicion that he's linked to an extremist Islamist gang. Many of these gang members joined ISIS in the past. Many died. Many of them in prison, and even some of them are out of prison today in Norway. So we know also that he was in conversation with PST only just 1 month ago before the terror attack. Police says that 32 years old terrorist has been in contact with the well-known jihadist Arfan Batti, who has been convicted a number of times and who has made threats against gays on social media. So, you know, I want to just begin with a 32 years old, like everyone know, like police is very clear in this case. They say that this 32 years old Iranian origin, Kurdish origin man from Iran was known to security services, a suspected radicalized Islamist, right? And he attacked uh, to two pubs the eve of the Pride night, and everything's clear. Like this is everyone know, and he have connection with the big Islamist group, like dangerous Islamist group in Norway. So, but why authorities are trying to work out whether gay people were specially targeted or whether it was a Islamic terror or not? You know, when I read the newspaper or articles, every time like it's look like they want to like close the case. They don't want to have any connection. Like this case, how we can do that? This case will not have any connection to attack on LGBT people, and how we can make this guy like a criminal, like have nothing to do with Islam. And this is what they are doing right now in Norway. You know, in the uh, after the terrorist attack in Oslo, has nothing to do with his religion, says the man after the king in Norway, namely the president of the parliament, Masud Gharahkhani, who himself comes from Iran, a country which terrorizing gay people from the day one when they established Islamic Republic in Iran. To me, it is impossible, you know, to think that he has no knowledge. The man who is the leader of parliament from Iran, he have no knowledge of the Islamic Republic of Iran. which is governed by Islamic laws and therefore has the death penalty for gays, blasphemers, and apostates. A country that kills gays with a clear conscience, just like other Muslim countries governed by Islamic law. They kill gays with both permission and order from their religion. And the man who is from this country and born in Iran even get married with one woman later in his life. He traveled to Iran, says this have nothing to do with Islam. When our president of the parliament in the year 2022 says the terrorist attack that was committed in the name of Allah has nothing to do with Islam, with religion, then he should answer two questions. I wrote it some days ago on my Facebook page. Can he name a terrorist act that has been committed in the name of Islam in the world that has something to do with religion? One terrorist attack he have to mention that has something to do with religion. I don't know, can he or not? Why? And the other question is, why are only countries governed by Islamic law have death penalty for homosexuals, blasphemers, and apostates? So I'm really angry because of whenever happens a terror attack in the name of Islam, politicians and media doing every effort to make Islam not like responsible. What do you think, guys, about this terror attack in Oslo? How have your media outlets covered?
Can I know that Hassan has prepared something. I just want to say very brief. I think it's not even shameful. It's disgusting that this man, I don't know him. I didn't have any knowledge about him before what you told us, Jamal. But the fact that the Norwegian people are sitting there and are being lied to in this way, and also these politicians, also in Denmark, they say, why do you have to ask me about my origin when you talk about Islam, for instance? Because your origin is from an Islamic country. You talk about religion, you talk about Islam, Muslims, but you don't want to mention that you know what it's about, and you're not ready to talk openly and honestly about it in Western public, in the Western public discussion about Islam. Either you're lying to us or you're trying to save face. No matter what, it's disgusting, it's shameful, and the whole debate is. And I also want to mention that one of your ministers visited a mosque, right? If you can say something about that. I think it's disgusting.
Yeah, you know, this was on TV. Like now, I'm sharing. This was on TV and on other media outlets.
Shameful behavior towards the people who lost their lives because they were homosexuals. And on behalf of, I can't really talk on behalf of the homosexual community in Europe, but I know that in Denmark, at least, a lot of homosexuals, if they are holding hands or in other ways are to be recognized as homosexuals, they are being harassed on the streets of every almost European country streets by Muslims. It's so often that I have a lot of homosexual friends in Denmark, and all of them almost have been hit or verbally abused by Muslims. It's a huge problem within the Muslim community, and it goes beyond the terrorist threat. It's also a cultural thing. They are so disrespectful towards homosexuals and sexual minorities, and they are violent against them. And homosexuals and sexual minorities in Europe and Western countries are afraid of talking about this because they're being called racist when they talk about it, and they try not to talk about it. And this means that we don't get to know about the truth. And it's it's what Western countries, Western civilization is built upon, us knowing the truth, discussing the truth, and being able to make decisions on the basis of the truth. And if we cannot do that, we will get stupid and dumb and totalitarian as the Islamic countries where these attacks come from. That's what I wanted to say.
And just before I continue, I want to remind everyone to join our pool we just created. Hassan created this. I put the link on comment section. You can go to the page, our YouTube page, and say yes, no, or I don't know. It is about can Islam reconcile with LGBTQ question? And please answer that, and we will talk about this in the end of this live stream. Yes, and about our justice minister, Jaleh and Hassan, 2 days after the Islamic terror attack, I call it right out because of it's first time that our police service, secret police service, is very clear about the connections. Of course, they are continue to investigate, but everything's clear. And he said Allahu Akbar when he shot people. Even if it is not against LGBT people, what so? What is what? I'm really pissed off about all terrorism acts in the name of Islam. They are underestimating that, and we are forgetting. And people became like victims in the statistical, like terror victim statistical. 2 more, 5 more, 10 more. Like they have no value. Their life have no value. 2 days after the Islamic terror attack, we saw that our Minister of Justice visited one of the biggest mosque in Oslo. Mainly, her visit was about we stands for Muslims, and Muslims are not responsible for the Islamic attack. TV and journalists were with her. It looked like some Nazi guy attacked one mosque, right? And she go there, like even she cannot handshake with the imam. They are sharing pictures, like Muslims are again victims in a case where Islamic terror attack against gays and infidels.
Yeah, I mean,
so
just to say, you hit the point. Is that anyone looking at this picture would think actually the attack was a gay person attacking Muslims.
Right.
She was supposed to go she was supposed to go to the pub where the attack happened.
Exactly.
The LGBT community there in solidarity who are mourning their dead. When you look at this picture, let's say tomorrow the opposite happened. That's what you'd see, that they're rallying around the Muslim community because they've received hate attack or something like that. And I hear it, and I hear where you're going, but this is not the first time. It's happened so many times before. In the USA, Florida attack on the gay club. That was a massive attack. There was also attack in the UK, in Reading, 5 gay men sitting in the park.
Many people doesn't know even that. If you ask people on the street, they will say, what? When?
Yeah, that's 2 years ago, roughly. It's a year and a half, maybe. So these things keep happening, and both cases were Islamist. Yeah, it is really sad, the situation we're in.
Like 2 years ago in Dresden, in Germany, a gay couple, lifelong together, a gay couple, I'm talking about old people, walking on the street with holding each other's hand, attacked by an 21 years old jihadist refugee from Syria with knife. One of them died, other injured. And this guy get, I think, only some like 5 months ago get life sentences. This young guy, terrorist. But nobody knows this even happened.
Yeah. The irony is that in the Middle East, men walk holding hands all the time, and
it's a huge problem.
Yeah,
I think it's a huge problem that we don't hear about it, and it's not only terrorism against homosexuals and sexual minorities we don't hear about. It's whenever Islamic terrorism hits in Western countries, or even when it hits, Westerners in Islamic countries. We don't hear about it in France. It gets covered up, actually. There was this case with we have talked about it before, a Jewish woman who was killed and thrown out of her apartment by a guy shouting that she's a devil or something like this, and shouting Allahu Akbar at the same time. And he was he got a mental, he was I think he got a sentence, a treatment sentence, because they said, oh, he had hashish in his system. He had had some weed or something like that in his system, and therefore he was not, he was insane.
He was not of sound mind.
Yeah, exactly. And this was, of course, a terrorist attack. And even Macron, the president, said this is not right. This cannot be happening. But this was actually the highest court's ruling in France. And this is just one sentence. There are so many sentences, and also in France and England, in the UK and Germany, which are big countries with. I can hear your cat.
Yes,
That's
I have to
cute.
do something about it.
It doesn't matter. It's just cute. Yeah, it's a huge problem. I think we have to be honest with ourselves. It's not to say that, oh, we don't want I'm not on the far right wing saying, oh, throw all Muslims out of Europe or something like that. It's not
Can you
about
please
that.
give me just a minute? I'm back very fast. Just keep continuing.
Okay, of course. I can talk. And Hassan, you can help me.
I can help, of course. Yeah.
But I think it's a huge problem. Don't you think, Hassan, that we need to talk openly and honestly about these situations? And it's I am being convicted, or I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to be convicted. I hope not. But I'm going to be tried in a case where I shared a link to a terrorist video from a terrorist attack in Morocco, where a Dane and a Norwegian girl were killed. And the Danish media didn't write about it. The Danish authorities didn't talk about it. 5 days after the attack, I was the first one in a big newspaper to write about it, and even though I was the first one to do it, I am now being and I didn't have anything else to do but to share the link to the video to verify if it was in fact the same terrorist attack, because nobody knew, because the authorities, the media hadn't verified it, right?
Yep.
Still, I'm being prosecuted, and I just feel it's such an unfair treatment, right?
Yep.
First, not to tell us the truth. It's against the law. I mean, in Denmark we have a law where public authorities have to tell us the truth about what is going on and happening, right? They have to help the media, help freedom of speech, and so on. They didn't do that. They withheld information about the terrorist attack. And I think I see this going on all the time. Actually, a former leader from the intelligentsia police in Denmark, the secret police in Denmark, wrote a book about how we should know less about terrorist attacks, because that would help us. So it was like saying openly, we should not hear about these things, that the police are interested in us not knowing too much about it and thinking too much about it, because then we would get too afraid, and it would cause a problem if we spend too much time on it, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is a very there is a strategy out there for us. It's a strategy that the police also communicates out to the media. We don't want you to speculate or to work too much about these stories and the fact that it is Islamic terrorism and so on, because it's disturbing society.
I can see one side of it is maybe now several medias they don't mention the name of the terrorists so that they don't get glorified. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see that element of it, but the source of it has to be discussed.
exactly.
And there's almost like a fear that if you actually talk about it too much, you're going to be accused of being an Islamophobic,
Yeah.
or that people are going to interpret it as attack on Muslims.
Yeah.
But whereas the reality is the focus is on the message of Islam and people need to talk about it. I'm curious, when the justice minister went to visit these mosques, did they condemn the attack against LGBT people and name it as such? Or did they just say, oh, we don't, support any terrorist attack, like a random word? Did they actually specify? I mean, they must have said some
They
statements,
say
right?
they condemn every attack against innocent people. You know what is innocent people?
Innocent, yeah, that's another
Yeah,
issue, right? Yeah,
but in any case, the guy, the leader of this organization in the picture, said write it article some many years ago, not too long ago, about that sodomy is sickness and have to be healed, right? How he can say, yeah, I mean, is these organizations getting support from millions money from Norwegian government.
yep,
They should only, like, if our justice of minister visited this mosque to warn imams about hateful writings in Islam, and she had then she had my full support. Otherwise, her prioritization gives the wrong signal to the public as to who is the real victim here. Is
true.
is this Muslims or gay people or non-Muslim people? What is going on here? We see many articles on newspapers, and non-Muslims and even Muslims and non-Muslims writing articles after this terror attack. It's look like they are victims. It's about Muslims. What will happen to Muslims now? It will be a next attack against Muslims or not. We are not responsible, etc. They are not talking about the case.
Yep,
Like when a young Nazi guy killed her sister 2 years ago, killed her sister, and later he attacked a mosque in Oslo. Hopefully, he couldn't manage to kill any Muslims. It's a good thing. But in any case, science then, in all debates or when we talk about if Islam is topic, then they mention this case every time.
yep,
You know, like when Nazi attacks a mosque, then all Muslims in the country are portrayed as victims.
yep,
When an Islamist attacks a pub, then all Muslims in the country portrayed as victims again. So this
yep,
is so stupid. This is so dangerous, actually. Why,
yep.
why do the media and many Muslim writers want to portray Muslims as victims every time if Islam is a part of a terror act,
Jamil, Jamil.
either victim or attackers in
Well,
every time?
I don't mind making sure we don't victimize all Muslims, because not all Muslims did that attack. But what we should be focusing on is, where did this message of hate or homophobia
Comes from,
has come from? And
right?
that would be nice to be mentioned. See, I wouldn't condone the idea that this guy, because he made this attack, now we could blame all Muslims for it. Of course, that's not true.
Of course. This
Yeah,
is
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm just trying to clarify for anyone's listening, because they may
yeah,
take it
yeah,
the wrong end of it. It's not about that. It's about, let's sit down and discuss. What are you talking in the mosques when you talk
right.
about LGBT people? What are you telling your followers about this? What are your actions? What is, I mean, you just said he posted an article a few years before saying that LGBT or
Yeah,
homosexuality is sickness. So, this is what should be mentioned in this incident is,
yeah.
rather than, where did this come from, rather than let's blame anyone for it. I think the message is more important in this context. Yeah.
The problem is I don't care. Like Justice Minister can visit mosque even after this terror attack. It's okay, but this have to not be the first priority. She have to show, the media have to focus on the pub, the people who are injured and kill it. But
I
no,
think the most beautiful
The other things I want to say, I'm totally agree with you, Hassan. And you know, we all know,
Yep.
every reasonably sensible person know that every Muslims are not terrorists. Like every Islam critics are not haters, Muslim haters, right?
You know what would have
But
been nice from that Justice Secretary minister is to show up wearing a LGBT ribbon in
right,
the mosque.
yeah,
It would be nice if that mosque were carrying LGBT flags to say we are in support. You know,
yeah.
we condemn this attack. You look at the pictures at the previous slide. Yeah, it's just it looks like oh they were the victims. I mean nothing. I mean why is she not wearing
You know what
any
she,
symbol
Hassan,
to show?
the first picture, there she's holding her hand on her chest.
Yeah,
Uh,
not to shake hands.
yeah, and do you know what she's saying there? She say, "Oh my God, I feel very like like relax, like meditation. You know, relax in this mosque. It's
Yep.
like gives me like some like very nice feelings."
Yeah.
Okay, okay, come to the point. Go with there with LGBT flag and say to these imams, you know, we have Friday prayer every Friday in every mosque, and
Why
imam.
do they not let, why do they, if they want to show that Islam is not the problem when it comes to homosexuals and LGBT minorities, why do they not invite them inside? Invite the organizations inside. Go to the pride and go
No,
be inside the pride,
because they are
because
hypocrites.
it's lies. You're telling us obvious lies, and we are buying it in this modern age. Where are all of the woke people who work for LGBT rights, trans rights, other sexual minorities, other genders rights, all of these 100 different thousand of different genders you're talking about?
Yeah.
Where is your where is your uh, where is your criticism of Islam when your minority citizens are being slaughtered in the streets of Europe? Where is your
You know, but
criticism?
Jale, in the fact is
It's
the fact is these Muslim imams, these activists or leaders of organizations know that el- it is forbidden to be homosexual in Islam. We will hear Hassan
Yep.
Abdullah soon
Yep.
and get more knowledge, and you guys who are watching us will get very good informations about that. So if they say it's okay to be gay in Islam, then they are lying. But okay, but they cannot do this because how they will say to their community. So I mean is that if government says to all imams that when they have vaaz like talking in any topics after Friday prayer, they can talk about politics, they can talk about the community, right, Hassan? They are talking like actual topics.
Yes. Yeah. They talk
Then
politics. They talk everything. Yep.
yes, let us see some imams say to the prayer community that you people, your son or your daughter can be gay or lesbian or trans, and this is absolutely okay in Islam, and you have to don't do anything against them.
Yeah.
It is
That's not gonna
forbidden.
happen,
Let's
Jamil.
do that.
Jamil, come on. Be
I
realistic.
know, I know. I'm
Be
ready,
realistic.
but
but
it's
it's
impossible.
the lies. It's the lies.
Yeah.
I cannot take it. How is it going on in this 21st century that we're being lied to, and we accept it? You shouldn't accept it just because it's from a minority. Then it's okay. But I think something that is very positive that came out of this was that the police said they wanted to cancel, right? Pride, something like this, and the people went ahead and said, we don't care, we want to go, and they went ahead and joined the pride, right? Or had a big demonstration at this the next day or something. I think I actually saw pictures from it. I think it's so brave and so beautiful of the people in Oslo who went ahead and went to the pride or a protest after what
Yes.
happened. I don't know if it was the pride or if it was just a protest. I don't care. I think it was beautiful to do it the next day, and I don't know if you have more information about that, Jamal.
They canceled it. They canceled all the.
But people went, right?
Yes, yeah, many people went there. Yeah, right. But like police advised that still there can be a terror, like because they are now investigating, because
If
they
there are
believe
other people.
there are more people, because we know the real guy who is behind this, I believe. But
Well,
it will not be the last one. Yes, Hassan.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I did hear that's going to be cancelled. I was very angry because that feeds into the Islamic terrorist belief that with terror we bring change.
Yeah, we can silence. Yeah,
it's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole point. And I'm thinking the Oslo police does not understand. If anything, they should do what Macron did when the terrorists killed the teachers. He put
Cemal
the picture of
Yeah.
to put the picture of the prophet on every building, to say, you know what, when you do this, we're going to go the other extreme. Yeah. And I was very angry when I heard that they canceled it. They should have made it the biggest ever in the history of Norway, because what the message that gets sent to those terrorists is like, oh, when we do this, it backfires.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they back down, then someone's going to be planning it for next year, thinking, okay, let's do one person sacrifice the year, and we'll cancel the pride every year. I mean, they don't understand the, in their way of thinking, they don't understand the terrorist way of thinking, and they really need someone to tell them how the terrorists think. And the victory, that guy in the prison hearing that the pride that cancel will be a bigger victory in his head than the fact that he killed two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't understand the way they think in that context.
We cannot let terror win, because terror is they are doing to change to change things, and this is called terrorism, right? I agree. And I want to show some videos before we go to topic Islam and homosexuality and your presentation, Hassan. I think this video is from 2013 in Oslo Islamic peace conference. Nobody cannot guarantee me that the attacker of London pub were not there. Maybe he was there too. We don't know. But this, I want to remind the people, just a second and play it. This happening in Oslo. And before, this organization getting millions money, especially from outside of Norway, from all Muslims are donating them. And now they buy some places with a lot of money. I'm talking about many millions crown, and they will build a big mosque, and they are promising a villa in heaven to Muslims if they pay them.
Yeah.
Every now and then, every time we have a conference, every time we invite a speaker, they always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports death penalty for homosexuals. This speaker supports death penalty for this crime or that. He is homophobic. They subjugate women, etc., etc., etc. It's the same old stuff coming all the time. And we always try to tell them, I always try to tell them that, look, it's not that speaker that we're inviting who has these extreme radical views, as you say. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things.
He's honest.
Just because they're not telling you about it, or just because they're not out there in the media, doesn't mean they don't believe in them. So I will ask you.
Thank you.
Everyone in the room, how many of you are normal Muslims? You're not extremists, you're not radical, just normal Sunni Muslims. Please raise your hands. Everybody, mashallah, subhanallah. Okay, take down your hands again. How many of you agree that men and women should sit separate? Please raise your hands. Everyone agree. Everyone agree. Brothers and sisters. Subhanallah. So it's not just these radical sheikhs then. Allahu Akbar. Next question. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind. And that is what we should apply in the world. Who agrees with that?
Can you stop for a
Allahu
second?
Akbar. Are you all
Yeah.
radical extremists?
Yeah. Actually, the Quran never mentions the punishment for adultery at all.
I know.
The Quran never ever mentions that. And I challenge any Islamist to come and find me in the Quran. And there's a reason for that, because Muhammad himself did it when he slept with his slave and he wasn't married to her.
Yeah, but
Okay.
in Islam, generally in Sharia, you know,
Yeah.
know that it is death penalty.
No, they came up with it from the hadith and from the verses that got apparently eaten by the goat. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
but
sometimes the sheep.
yeah, I know.
But there
Hassan,
isn't. The Quran is not there. The adultery element is. This is why they say, "Oh, it got eaten by the goat or the sheep." So what he was saying there was, and the fact they raised their hands, which is shows how much they know about their religion,
yes.
is that actually it's not in the Quran. And the verses were eaten by a goat, and the justification for it is that if you want to go, because that's a big hole in Islam, when you say that some verses are missing, this means the Quran is incomplete. So the way the sheikhs have to explain it, they say, oh, it means that Allah abrogated it, meaning Allah cancelled it. You know what I mean? And that's why they found other ways, like Indonesia, they slapped them, hit them, and stuff like
with sandals. Hitting them with sandals.
They hit them with stakes and stuff, and so they couldn't really, because it's actually no longer in the Quran, and because it's missing, they couldn't find a way. I'm just putting my observation. Sorry, but
and if I just want to say, I also think it's very important for Muslims to know that they shouldn't follow these leaders as sheep, as these people are doing, right? As a Muslim, you should be critical and ask questions to your sheikh or to your, the writings in your religion. Read them, understand them, ask questions. And this is the only way you will get,
answers.
Answers. And this is it's so frightening that I have seen this video. It's kind of old, right? It's like, I think it's maybe
2013. 9 years ago.
it's like 9 years ago. I remember this. It was I remember this video, and it's so frightening. And it's not only one case. There are a lot of these videos. It goes on in Denmark, in Sweden, in Norway, in all European countries, all Western countries. You have these sheep who follow the religion like this and just eat this propaganda up. And we need to, and at least the European countries, the authorities, the teachers, the media, you should make these people ask questions about their religion. They're not, if they're not doing it, we need to push them to ask the real questions, because this cannot just continue. We cannot just ignore that these people are being fed this propaganda, because we're not doing anything, but the Islamists are brainwashing these people all the time, every day, every year. And it's we see the terrorist attacks, we see other problems every day in our societies, and it's getting worse with the demographic change that is also a reality in Europe, with a lot of Muslims coming in and also having more children than the Europeans. So we need to have to tackle this problem.
Jaleh or Hassan, I'm the reason I'm showing this video, it's not because, of course, that these Muslims want to kill homosexuals or something like that. This video is to show to like our leader of parliament from Iran, who says this like homophobia have nothing to do with Islam, or terror have nothing to do with Islam. The Islamic concept, especially the earlier scholars, the important scholars like Ibn Abbas, Ibn Kathir, Jaleh, every scholars who interpreted Quran and Hadiths, and all the sects leader are agree the concept that it is death penalty against gays, homosexuals in Islam, but they are only disagree about how they will be killed, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We will talk about that. Yes, and just continue for people.
So all of you are saying that you are common Muslims. You all go to the different masajids Norway, or are you like a specific sect, like the Islam net sect or anything like that? Are you like that? No. Are you like that? Please raise your hand if you're like this extreme Islam net sect or anything like that. No one. Allahu Akbar.
Allah.
How many of you just go to these normal masajids in Norway, the normal Sunni mosque? Please raise your hands. Allahu Akbar. So what's the politicians gonna say now? What's the media gonna say now? That we're all extremists? We're all radicals? We need to deport all of us from this country?
Can you pause it?
Yeah,
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, you have always seen this picture from Nazi Germany where everyone is howling and there is just one person not howling. There is just one guy in the front row who is not raising.
He cannot English.
Oh!
Really, because I see someone don't know should he do or not, because I don't understand English.
Oh, sorry. But I thought sure he was a hero.
Okay, and we are too late maybe, but I will this is very important. You know what's happened in Norway about 6 days ago. This I have to show because later I will cut this clip too. Just a second. What happened 6 days ago? It was an organization named Stop Islamization of Norway.
Yep.
This organization burning Quran every week, almost every week, to provoke Muslims and see how they will react, right? And they want to show that this book is hateful. And this time, 6 days ago, these people burned Quran in front of or across to mosque in Oslo. And what happened there, you will see in the video, people get crazy and they want to stop Quran burning action. Even they use their bare hands, acting like really, I don't know, mentally, like with mentally issues, what I can say, to save a paper. Their Quran is not gone. But what happened later, two girls, one of them is surely Pakistani because speaking in Punjab language, they drive after this people's car and they hit them and they crash them and drove their cars in highway. How our media show this, they show like an accident almost. And it is really disgraceful because somebody writing that the girls defended themselves or something like these stupid things. But luckily, an alternative media, name is Alternative Media, followed Stop Islamization of Norway organization through the 2 hours. So they have everything. We have every fact. So I want to show this just to show world. Just imagine if a non-Muslim woman, like the one woman who sit in the car in the car of Stop Islamization of Norway, if she drive a car to 2 Muslim women and crash them, what will happen? All over the world, in the whole world, all media will write about that, and they will say this is an act of terrorism because it was attempted murder case. So let's just see quickly.
Vi kan filme gjennom vinduet hvis det skal i rundkjøringen.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk. It's no problem because it is in Norwegian language. There, the leader of organization burning a Quran, a piece of Quran paper, and this car you see, like military car, is their car. I'm showing this because media have this video. They don't want to show you. They just show the exactly when accident happened, and often the video from the car who attacked them. I will show this too. And there, what's going on, man? It's only paper burning. Relax. The guy say, go from here. The other one says you cannot burn, and the other one attacking them. This is what happens if you try to burn Quran in Norway. And now, attention please, Hassan and Jaleh. Here comes two girls soon. Not now.
I think that Quran is completely banned anyway.
Yeah.
They're not in the fire department. No. They're not from the fire department. They're not very good.
And now you hear a girl shouting in Punjab. This girl. This traditional Pakistani dressed girl and this girl with tights, with training tights. They are saving Holy Quran without hijab and with tights. What Taliban will say?
With that short, even in Saudi Arabia should be in trouble.
Let me just.
She would be lashed in an Islamic country for wearing that and acting like that, shouting in the streets. Your voice shouldn't even be heard.
Right, and this guy says to media that this is not freedom and harmony. If you want freedom and harmony, you should not burn Quran.
In an Islamic country, she would be called a whore.
Look at this car.
Oh my God! They're over. Did you see that? She almost fell out of the car.
Just a second. I can. Hassan, please follow here. He says, "Is it freedom of speech? Is it harmony?" And she's just saying motherfuckers and like something.
Isn't swearing haram?
Yes.
Isn't swearing and saying haram?
And now follow, please. Because it's very important. They are doing this with their own will. They want to attack because now organization of Stop Islamization of Norway is driven, and now they will follow them. The girl who fought right now, she's owner of the car. The driver is not owner of the car. It's important. Wait. And this is the media who is filming. He want to reach the organization. The car of organization. I'm showing this because I want to cut this and publish later. So yes, now we see the Stop Islamization of Norway's car, and any media showed this like it's happened 2 times, not 1 time, not accident. Look at.
This is the same car with that woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay. And after this, I will show the video, which is this driver taking inside the car. You know, driver saying to her, have you insurance? And the Pakistani girl says, just drive. She said, but car will be damaged. No problem, just drive. And she's just saying like whore, son, and motherfucker, and something like this, shouting. Okay. Now she stopped again there. And Stop Islamization of Norway will drive through.
Yeah, this is the bit I saw on Instagram, by the way.
And she said, come on.
Jeg sier, følg etter. Det her blir action, altså det som har skjedd, og skjer her nå, vi bare ser hva som skjer. Her det skikkelig, her mordforsøk! Her mordforsøk! Hva faen? Stopp her, stopp!
And the guy who is filming, he said, this is attempted murder, stop. Okay, and now just quickly show the short video from the attacker's car. It is important.
This is not even attempted murder. This is attempt. It's not even attempt of terrorism. It is terrorism, and it should be prosecuted as terrorism. Do you know if it is being prosecuted as terrorism?
No way.
At best, they're gonna classify it as dangerous driving.
Right.
This is, I believed in, democracy and civility and, the law being in place would take care of these things. But it is not. The law, the systems are not in place, are not addressing these things as they should. This is terrorism. It's nothing less.
I agree. And if these two women not get real sentence, it is really dangerous, because then what other extreme Muslims will do when they got angry because of somebody burning Quran or somebody saying some things negatively against Muhammad.
This is terrorism.
This is very, very dangerous. And just play this 58 seconds and then we are finished. They are just banning, just saying that like the son of pimp and whore and she said now crush them. Continues with banning. We have translated this.
Out of the country you go.
Driver of the car says to owner of the car will be damaged. She said it's okay. It is crazy. I cannot believe. Really, I cannot believe. And this will not be the new normal. It have to.
We are beyond this. It is the new normal, and we have to stop it. And if we don't stop it now, it's going to get crazier and crazier, and worse and worse and worse. And it's going to be our everyday. It started with ISIS. With the terrorist attacks when ISIS was, building their state in the Middle East. They were doing attacks in Europe and in the Western world. And now it has continued. ISIS is no longer there. And then the politicians in Europe thought, oh, it's going to die with ISIS. No, it didn't start with bin Laden. It's not going to die with ISIS. This is an ideology that is being fed to children generation after generation after generation. It's in their theology. It's the ideology within the theology. It's Islam. It's mainstream Islam. You need to tackle this. You cannot ignore this anymore. It's such a big problem that everybody's, trying to ignore the fact that we cannot talk about Islam. Something within Islam has to change. What do you think? Something magical is going to happen? Then people, when we were in Bornholm, normal people would come to us and say, oh, you cannot just criticize Islam from the outside. Somebody from the inside, the imams will change it. The imams will change it? Are you this stupid at this point with your knowledge of Islam that you think the Khamenei, bin Laden, the Taliban is going to change this? Or are the imams in your country, are they reforming this religion? Are they saying gays are allowed? and it's not a sin, and it's not even that they should be killed, they say in the mosques.
Yeah.
It's so horrible, and it's I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I'll just shut
It's okay.
up now.
Hassan, can you please add your presentation, because I have in front of me, but I think you cannot do something with
I
it.
have a limit whereby the last time when I tried to upload, it wouldn't let me upload. That's why I emailed it to you.
Okay, I have this
I-
now. I have this, but can you just throw the page or not? I'm not sure.
I'll try. Otherwise, I'll tell you next slide.
Sorry.
No, I can't.
Can you try?
No, hold on. Can you give me control? Maybe it's part of the settings. I think it's happened in another presentation. Let me see if I can upload it again. See, I tried before.
I don't know how to give permission, but
Okay,
I
give
can.
me a second. Let me try to upload it from here one last time.
Until you do that, I have read one article by Tom Schlater, the editor of Spike It. It's a very good article. I will post on the comment section. People can read. He asks real questions, and he says how we forget the all the cases, and how media really don't do their job properly every time when something's about Islam. I will send this on the comment section. People can read. Yes, look at
Jamil,
there.
I think it's uploaded.
Yes,
Perfect.
I did now. Okay,
Perfect.
and now we will talk about Islam and homosexuality. A lot of knowledge. Hassan will come with. Just a minute. Yes, Hassan, just start.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, I want anyone who's watching this to keep an open mind and see the facts for what they are. And then you can make up your mind. There's a poll running at the moment on YouTube while the session is live. Do you think Islam can reconcile and accept homosexuality or LGBTQ? I'm going to present all the facts. So I'm going to focus on the Quranic verses related to Bani Lut. I'm going to explain who the Bani Lut are. I'm going to discuss the Islamic view of homosexuality, whether it confirms with facts that we now know, and can Islam ever reconcile and accept LGBTQ people or homosexuality specifically? All right, so I really, really hope that the terrorist who committed the act in Oslo will have a chance to watch this and at least know some facts about what the Quran says, because as we saw earlier in the video, sometimes people don't really know the facts about Islam. Last time we had a session here about burning the Quran, and I was watching again how angry these people are about burning the Quran. Is that actually burning the Quran is an Islamic activity? This is what Omar did. This is what Uthman did. And they did it for the original manuscripts that were seen and touched by the Prophet himself. So we're getting angry about copies of the Quran, but that's actually the traditional way. It's actually haram to throw the Quran in a river. It's haram to bury it. I did the most blasphemic thing with my Quran when I had enough of it. You know what I did with it, Jamil?
No, I don't know.
I recycled it. I put it in the recycling bin, which means it's gonna come back as toilet papers or whatever it's gonna come. You know, people don't understand that actually burning the Quran is the right way of getting rid of a copy that you don't want, or if it's damaged or something like that, or it doesn't matter, just you don't want it. So people really don't know their religion, and they act only by emotions and lack of understanding.
Absolutely.
So I start by talking about Islamic verses related to homosexuality, and specifically related to Bani Lut. So Bani Lut, for people who don't know, is actually mentioned also in the Bible. They refer to it as the people of Lut, and that's really where the term Bani Lut comes from in the Quran. Bani means the people or the children of these people. Yeah. So the Bible is not very clear as to what the crime they committed, although the interpretation is clearly referring to the fact that they committed homosexuality. So it doesn't say it in that clear terms. And that's one of the reasons why many Christians over time started questioning whether actually this is related to homosexuality, because they argued on the basis that these people were raping more than anything else. They were committing bad acts. But when it's two adults who are in a committed relationship or they have consent, then there is no issues there. So this is how Christianity came around this topic. However, when you go to the Quran, it's a lot more clearer. Okay, I say a lot more clearer on what the crime or the sin that these people committed. So first of all, for anyone who's researched this well, and I did my research on it recently, the story of Bani Lut is scattered over 15 chapters, and this is not unusual. For anyone who thinks the Quran is a nice organized book written by the perfect creator,
totally chaotic.
Yeah, go read it, people. It's just ridiculous. The stories are many times just one single line in the middle of another story. It will say something about the Bani Lut, or see what happened to the people of Bani Lut, and it gives you a little bit more information, and then it goes to a completely different subject, and it goes on and on. So to try to gather the story, you have to go through around 15 different chapters to get it. Many of them as well also are exact repetitions with key part of the story, almost paraphrasing slightly in a different way. Sometimes there's almost a sense of contradiction in some of these stories, but I'm not going to go into that. I just want to get what is the message that the Quran has about Bani Lut. So first we get to hear about Bani Lut in chapter 6, verses 86 to 87, where it mentions that Lut, the prophet, by the way, Lut is a prophet, and he was supposedly beloved by Allah, as he was therefore to show the straight path. And the word straight path is mentioned that only, in Arabic, straight does not mean like heterosexual. It just means the right path. Yeah. So that's when we get to start to hear about Bani Lut. Also remember, the Quran is not in chronological order, but I was reading it in that order. Much of the remaining are fragments that are hard to follow, but we get to know that it's the town that could not be saved, meaning it was hit in a form of a disease that just nothing could be done to save them. Yeah. Then you get to hear that the vengeance of Allah was always against the Bani Lut people for not changing. Lut abandoned his wife, who wanted to remain with those people. So you get, this is kind of the fragments when you're going from one chapter to another. Really, it's hard to follow. But then, to be honest, this is not unique to the story of Bani Lut. It's also, you find it in other stories. The real full account, like really the nicest part to sit and read for anyone who's really interested to read the story, is chapter 11, Surah Hud, 70 to 86. So it talks in that context. Abraham is having a conversation. The prophet Abraham is having a conversation with two angels who came to tell him that he's going to be blessed with a child. And I can almost feel the sense of that story is that this is the fear about homosexuality, is our children. Although it's not really put in that context, but the way this story comes into it, you can't help but feel there is a connection there. The angels were on their way, by the way, so they were passing to Abraham to give him the good news, but on their way, like Amazon delivery, they were going on to Bani Lut to save Lut and his daughters. Okay, so it's a little bit, it's funny in a way, but
it is crazy, stupid story in any way, but yeah.
So they're passing, say, oh, by the way, you're going to have a child. And you ask them, what you're planning to do? Or, in the context of their conversation, they say, oh, we're going after this to speak, to go to the people of Bani Lut, to save Lut and his daughter. And he had two daughters specifically. So on the arrival to the town, and I'm sorry to use this word there, maybe we should be careful with YouTube, homosexuals hear about these beautiful angels and want to meet them. And that's the context of it.
Like now, whole town want to rape them because
yes,
they're so beautiful.
They're so beautiful. They're angels, yeah.
Yeah.
And Lut doesn't know, by the way, these men are angels initially. I don't know why they didn't introduce themselves as soon as they came through the door. But as he sees these flocks of men coming to meet these beautiful two guests, Lut offers these men his daughter so that they do not rape his guests. And
like take my daughters and rape them. It's okay, but don't.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, we have to stop and read this together because this is really the core element. Yeah, and the men of his people, this is Beni Lut, who were used to shameful deeds. It doesn't really say exactly, but you know the context, the shameful deeds, came to him rushing. He pleaded, "Oh, my people," because it's their people. "Here are my daughters for marriage." Actually, the word marriage, notice, is in bracket. It actually does not say marriage. This is added by the translators. If you read it in Arabic, it says, "Oh, my people, here are my daughters. They are pure for you. For fear, so fear Allah and do not humiliate me by disrespecting my guest. Is there not even a single right-minded man among you?" Okay, so the translators, of course, and couldn't just not put for marriage. What marriage? These are men who came for sex.
It is about sex. Yeah.
They didn't come to marry the angels, right? So, but they know if they don't put for marriage, it's gonna show the reality of that verse, and the reality of that verse is saying, "Go have sex with my daughters," which very problematic, and we're going to talk about this later. But this is the real context of it. So why this story does not make sense, and specifically this verse, when anyone's sitting and looking at it, doesn't make sense. You're offering two daughters to be gang raped.
Exactly.
I mean, there's not only two men. Let's say there's 20 men. We don't know the number. If you give your two daughters to two of these men, what are the other 18 going to do? You see what I mean? So clearly there's something ridiculous about how this is playing out. The other thing is the author does not understand that these men are homosexuals and assumes that they're bisexual and they're kind of choosing. So they say, "Oh, don't take my two guests, take my two daughters." Like it's a choice. It's again coming from a perspective that does not understand how homosexuality works. The other thing that doesn't make sense about this whole story is that if the town were all homosexuals, which is what the story tries to keep saying, how did the town maintain its population?
Right.
Like it's meant, if Allah just wanted them to die out, he just would have let them die out slowly, because they're not having any more babies. They're only having sex, men with men and women with women. So really he did not have to do anything else there. Why did Allah send angels in the form of beautiful men? So this is another thing. These angels could have easily come as very old men, women, or just a spirit. I mean, it seems to me as if the whole thing was staged. So the story, it does not make sense unless you think this was the plan to stage it in such a way that to make the story sound bad for these people. So trying to put the story together, and keep in mind there's a lot of missing gaps there. What we get to know is that Allah orders Lut to turn the people away from their wicked ways. This is point number one. How does it suggest that? It says that if they turn to Allah, they would be saved. Okay, if they just believe in Allah, pray and fast, they will be saved. And the context of it is that they were not willing to do that. Lut fails to convince anyone. No one in this whole town was convinced by Lut or changed their way because of Lut's message, which is something I'm going to come back to it later. Lut runs away from the town in the order of Allah via the angels. So that's why the two angels were visiting. They were visiting to tell him, give up. This is not going to work. We want you tomorrow morning to leave because Allah's punishment is coming to those people. But this is where, as he decides to leave, his wife, knowing the full facts, and this also doesn't make sense. So his wife, knowing she was there, she saw the angels, decided to stay. And anyone, I mean, please, people, just use some sense. It doesn't make sense. She knew this punishment is coming. She saw the angels there, and yet she decided to stay. The people of the town, by the way, they celebrate when they see Lut going away because he was harassing them in some sort, constantly telling them what they're doing is wrong. And next morning, Allah pulls the town from its root up high, turns it upside down, and slams it down as if this is a disease, this is a plague, let's get rid of it in one go. And that's how the story of Bani Lut is presented in the Quran.
It's have mentioned that rain of stones, right? Like Allah sends rain of stones, and this is the thing behind that. All the centuries that scholars interpreted that the rain of stones on the town as meaning that homosexuals should be stoned, right?
No, but also the concept of taking them to a top hill and throwing them off that hill or off a building is that concept of raising them high and then throwing them down. So you see, I mean, that's where it came from as well. So again,
and the other words, nothing makes sense in Islam in any way, because the other question is like many times Allah punishes all the town, like children, women, and everyone, like it's happened in Noah's story too, right?
Yes, I mean, but in this context, is saying that everyone was homosexual in this town, so there was, no one was gonna be spared. It was a disease that has spread, and they wouldn't change their way. So therefore, this is the punishment. So I would like to take a moment and reflect, and I would love if the audience in the chat write their comments to see whether they picked up some of the issues in the story. The first thing is the start of the story is missing, i.e., how did they become homosexual? Right. What caused them to be homosexual? Why would a whole town suddenly become homosexual? This was a gap. This is not actually mentioned in the Quran. The story starts somewhere in the middle, that Lut was trying to convert these people who've gone the wrong way. But what was the story before it? That had to be filled by scholars afterwards, trying to extract some from the hadith, from the story. Again, the hadith was very sketchy on this, so we're trying to fill up gaps there because that was missing. Two, the Quran suggests before this incident, homosexuality did not exist because it keeps referring to the Bani Lut who started this. And we know this is absolutely not true. The Greeks, ancient Greeks, we have lots of artifacts that prove that they were very open about sexuality in their time, although it was mostly the nobles who had that option more than the common man. We have from Egypt, ancient India, ancient China and Japan. It existed all along. So the suggestion that this was only something that started with Bani Lut is a factual lie. I mean, this is not true at all. The next thing is the Quran suggests that homosexuality is unnatural disease as a plague. I mean, the only way that Allah could deal with it and stop it spreading was to
destroy them.
Yeah, and a drastic measure. I mean, you have to think like, even in the worst of other stories where you have the polytheist fighting with Muhammad, or kuffar, for instance, the Pharaoh when he was prosecuting the prophets and stuff like that, and they were running away. Allah never went to that extreme. So there's an extreme here. But maybe the biggest point for me when I'm looking at the story is that as a prophet of Allah, Lut is an epic failure. And I want to emphasize to anyone listening this, Lut as a prophet is an epic failure. He did not, not only did he fail to convert a single soul, he lost his wife. So if this is a football match, it's 1-0 against him. Like he couldn't get even one person to agree with him.
Right.
And he lost the one person that was with him. So he is probably the worst performer in any of the prophets. I mean, I would really like to hear if anyone can come back to me with someone who did worse than this. And yet we have the verse that says he was Allah's beloved prophet. The other thing is the suggestion that by Lut to his people to turn to Allah to be saved will be heavily disputed by the many and many LGBTQ Muslims who pray, who fast, who did everything right, who went to Mecca, who hajjed and everything, and yet ended up not straight. And any Muslim who's watching this, who is LGBT, I feel for you, because the suggestion that you must have got from your families and from your friends is that you are not Muslim enough. But that's clearly not the case, because in the context of the story of Bani Lut, the suggestion is that all you need to do is believe in Allah and pray and you'll be saved. But that's clearly not the case. We know many Muslims are LGBTQ and they can't help it. So we get to the Islamic arguments now. And these are the four common Islamic arguments we have. Point number one, homosexuality is unnatural. And the argument behind it is that it goes against nature. It does not have a part in the reproductive process. And that's probably one of the strongest arguments. You get the likes of many of these Dawa gangsters who are on YouTube and online and debates. This is probably the one that I usually get when I post this topic on my page on Instagram. Yeah, but it's unnatural anyway. So, I don't care what excuses you want to give to it. The other one is that it's a result of Western corruption, corrupted values. So TV, media, celebrities, movies, all this protest about Disney showing LGBT is that they think, oh, this is all Western corrupted value. We never had this issue until the West reintroduced it. It's a source of plagues such as AIDS. That's another, and that links to Islam, by the way, because the point of that punishment was treating it like a disease. And I, growing up in the Middle East, when AIDS came around, it was always said AIDS is Allah's punishment against gays and LGBT people and blah, blah, blah. And also that it undermines family value. As you see in many protests, they do. This one's from the UK, when a school, they have a lesson saying no outsiders. And this was a government curriculum whereby they talk about everyone is welcomed. And they talk about race, they talk about people of religion, including Muslims, that they should be all understand them and community. But the fact they included a gay or lesbian couple in the stories, I forgot what it was, they went completely mad about this. So they see it as undermining value. So I'm going to address these one by one now. So the first thing, what does science say and what does facts tell us? So homosexuality is a naturally occurring phenomena in nature. Nearly all species have been observed to engage in some form of homosexual behavior. And every picture you see in the slide is two homosexuals engaging in nature. I researched these online to make sure that I have not picked a mistake. And you can start from the left-hand side where you see two lions. So there's no dispute. Yeah, this, if it was a lioness, you would easily spot that. Maybe with the giraffes, a little bit tricky. Maybe with the monkey.
Elephant,
elephants, ducks. These are two same because the male and females are different. These are two male ducks because of their colors. So you can always tell these things. And anyone who's not sure about this, I would advise you to open Google and search homosexuality in animals and sit and watch videos after videos and documentaries and research papers that prove without doubt that this exists. But maybe, and the argument was for a very long time, sometimes where the female is not around or the male is not around, they're a bit bored, they get along with each other. Yeah, that was the argument as well, that maybe they're confused. They say that for humans as well when they do that. The reality also, they found that even in monogamous species, such as swans and penguins, and there's a reason, by the way, on Valentine's Day, the cards you get, they always have that penguins and they always have those swans, because these are monogamous species. For anyone who doesn't understand monogamous, this means when one partner dies, the other one doesn't have another partner. When they connect together, they're there for life. You know what I mean? They stay together for life. And they found that as well, they were homosexual couplings in swans and in penguins. And what's quite bizarre, And I want everyone who thinks it's unnatural, or maybe it doesn't have a purpose, especially on the reproductive element. With penguins, they found that they look after baby chicks and they look after baby penguins. And what turns out to be is the following. Sometimes penguins get eaten by whales, and when it's a male and female, there's always one looking after the baby and the other one's going hunting. When one of the penguins gets eaten, the other one starves practically to death. So they give up the babies. And who looks after the babies? Homosexual couples. Homosexual couples. So whether it's two females or two males, they look after the babies of orphans. Now, you might, if you for a second put Allah and the Quran aside, this is the moment you should say Subhanallah. I mean, you know, yes, you know, if you put
the miracle of Allah there.
Exactly, although it's miracle of nature, it should be Subhana nature. Yeah, it's the fact that they have a purpose. It turns out they have a purpose. They look after orphan chicks. And if you transfer that for a moment to humanity, how many children are waiting in orphan homes? How many children are on foster care? How many children? So to try to suggest that they have no purpose, maybe you need to take a step back and wonder if this was nature's way of helping as well. So it wasn't always about this. So any argument to say that it's unnatural and they have no purpose, I think if you look at science, you're going to find that this is not true. But while we're still stop at this topic of animal kingdom and mammals and birds and different species, by the way, they haven't found yet a species that doesn't. You know what I mean? This is the bizarre nature of this, is that any suggestion that humans are influenced by media can also be discounted, because I'm sure the penguins are not so impressed by Lady Gaga. I'm sure the gay giraffes do not watch MTV. And quite frankly, homosexuality has existed before we had this media. We have evidence that even in Islamic culture, it existed.
Yeah.
Before we had TV, before we had music, in the middle of the Islamic Khilafah, there was homosexuality. So, you know, to try to suggest that this is all because MTV and all because of Disney and all those, LGBT agenda. No, it's not. I'm afraid there's no evidence whatsoever that makes influence. In fact, even in countries, I'm going to get to in later slide about this. Even countries where they've legalized it, it didn't make a change. It's not like suddenly there was a rush of 50% of the country becoming LGBT or what have you. Now, I'm going to address those 2 points here as well. AIDS was one of the big things. We don't talk too much about it, but the reality and the facts of it is that most people who died from AIDS, especially in Africa, are straight. And many children have died from AIDS. And if you try to say that AIDS is an homosexual disease for homosexuals, that Allah's punishment to it, AIDS does not affect lesbians. So Allah's missed half his target. In any way you look at it, Allah's target was pretty lousy for a God that's able to do anything. If AIDS really was his way of punishing the LGBT community or the homosexuals. Yeah, because he hit a lot of straight people, he hit a lot of children, and most importantly, he missed half of them because it never affected lesbians.
Yeah. And what about earthquake?
I didn't put it in the slide because it's a bit humorous, but I'll mention it in my last reflection as well. So undermining family values also is some of the big points they try to put, although really there's no basis for it. The Netherlands has had gay rights since 1811, and it's not affected its population whatsoever. There's absolutely no evidence that legalizing gay or gay marriages has any impact on the population. And this is the population of the Netherlands since they've legalized homosexuality. It hasn't changed. It hasn't gone down. It hasn't gone shot up. It's just moved as it normally does. And also, if anyone thinks that this can affect the population, it doesn't, because Netherlands remains the 5th most dense country in Europe, beating many conservative European countries such as Romania, Hungary. I mean, it's still highly populated, and this is not necessarily just immigration; it's the whole population is growing. So any argument about this, especially from the likes of Daniel Hakikatju, is completely debunked, because actually we have the statistics that show it continues to grow. Maybe it slowed the rate, but this has happened in all European countries, whether they legalized it or not, and so on. Now, there's a lot of misinformation online, and when I was doing the research, I couldn't believe the amount, as, sorry my language, BS you could see. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So they were showing these pictures on the right-hand side again and again. Many of them were showing these pictures, saying these are Beni Lut, these are not Beni Lut, these are actually from Pompeii. But what some of them who did admit that the ones on the right are from Pompeii, they were saying, oh, Pompeii was punished the same way that Beni Lut were punished because they had homosexuality. Well, true that Pompeii was very promiscuous. They found lots of bars and prostitution homes, and some of them were reasonably LGBT, gay or homosexual. But this was every Roman city. The only reason we can see it because this city was preserved. All the other cities were doing the same stuff. Okay, so to try to say that, oh, see how Allah punished Pompeii the way he punished Beni Lut? No, he did not. It was every city. It's just that we are able to see Pompeii because all the graphics and all the drawings were not damaged as such. Pompeii was not LGBT heaven. Yeah, it was just another Roman city. Then the other thing is they focus on this structure there you see on the top there on the left hand side that looks like a standing stone. I'm going to show it in the next slide even better. They keep claiming that this is Lut's wife, which is a joke. This is just, yeah. You see, if you want to go with the story of Luke's wife turning into a stone, it's not turning to a stone. Actually, this story comes from the Bible. I didn't see it in the Quran. This is the suggestion that she turned into salt. And that's not what's happening there. And any of you who could be bothered to research and say human-like structures or natural human-like structure rocks, you'll find loads of examples. So this is not.
They even see on the Mars,
Yeah. Yeah, and they try to make it. The other misinformation you have there is the people of Lut and the city, which was turned upside down. They keep showing pictures of Pompeii as if this is from the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is not the case. It's a very different thing. And also here the idea that there were two beautiful boys. So on the right-hand side, the lecture in Pakistan. Now, absolutely, the Quran never says they're beautiful boys. And here's another suggestion to try to say that homosexuality are pedophilia. I'm sorry, it's not the case. If the Quran is very clear that they were his guests, so they were men. So again, they try to twist it and turn it to try to say that homosexuals are sick, are pedophiles. It's not the truth. If you want to look for pedophile, look for the hadith of Aisha's marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we get to the end of the story here. Actually, before we put that question, and that's the last slide there, the story about Allah's throne shaking, it's not in the Quran. It's most definitely somewhere in the Hadith. I couldn't find it in the short time that I was researching today, but I know I've heard it before. And I put it to anyone who has two brain cells next to each other to use them and think. In the UK alone, there's an estimated of 1 million gay person, lesbian or gay. And in New York, it's probably more. San Francisco, definitely more. Sao Paulo, more. Where do you want to go around the world? From Paris to Berlin to Moscow, there's LGBT people everywhere. So if I take just 10% of them once a night, they have sex, Allah's throne is a shaking throne that no one can sit on it. You know what I mean? It's and as the night comes in at every day, this throne is throwing him out of it. You know what I mean? So please use your brain and ask yourself if there's any logic to this explanation or not. And now that I've put all this from the Quran perspective, from the Islamic perspective, we ask, and I've seen people trying to reconciliate, can Islam, sorry, I don't know what happened to the slide there.
Sorry.
That's the answer. Oh yeah, see, I see what you've done. So yeah, can Islam reconciliate with LGBTQ? And yeah, the answer is clear. 92% disagree.
Also,
No one
12
said
people
yeah.
only, but in any case,
Yeah, true. And no one said yes, even from the 12.
Yeah. But you know, the fact is, we have to understand, Muslims have to understand too, you know, this religion is a lie in any case. It is stupid, crazy stories which have really horrible effects even today because of those stories, right? And what kind of creator thinks and cares so much about hair and skin and genitalia, whose genitalia goes into whose genitalia, you know, where we are living in an universe. We are not a dot even. We are so small that nobody can even imagine how small we are, right?
I agree. But let me just comment on one thing where I think the Christian, well, secular European view is that they saw that Christianity changed and they saw that Christianity adapted, and they're hoping, I don't think they know, they're hoping Islam is going to change, and they think Islam's going to change. So they push this narrative of allowing LGBTQ Muslims and try to push these the narrative that Islam is going to change. I keep seeing news that there's now in somewhere in the USA an LGBTQ mosque dedicated to LGBT. I'm like completely puzzled. Which Quran are they reading in this mosque? Yeah,
the same. We have a Turkish woman. She called herself Imam, and she opened one LGBT mosque in Germany.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
she have no community, just 5-6 people she goes with 5 policemen daily, 24 hours. She gets so much death threats that you cannot imagine. Even Hamed Abdul Samet have only 1 police protection, but she goes with 5 and 24 hours, you know. And I accept and I support her that she's trying to fight against Islamophobia in Islam, but this is another case that we have to talk one day. You know, I cannot understand if she really says that she's a Muslim, she believes in Allah and Muhammad, then she have to be an ignorant. But if she do this for normalizing the acceptance of homosexuals in the Muslim community, I support her. You know, this is a dilemma. Like we got a new organization in Norway too. Salam, name is Salam. Like one gay Muslim opened this. He gets threats too, threats and everything. But they are defending Islam like any other Muslims.
Yep. And that's the bad part, to be honest. Because look, I've had this debate on my page a few times, and from LGBT Muslims who are desperate to keep the faith, and I didn't want to go with the debate about LGBT full stop. I said, look, if you don't want to go down that route, there's so many other things wrong with Islam, from science to morality, from, you know what I mean? So we don't even need to go there. But the fact that you know this is what Islam thinks of you, the fact you know that you were born this way, you didn't have a choice. It's not something you decided to be gay, and still can't see it. Sometimes you have to, and I say this again and again on my page, people sometimes care more about faith than they care about facts.
Right.
They care more that they want to believe in something more than they care about the facts that come with it. And unfortunately, I feel for them. I'm sorry for them, because this is all they could think of. They can't imagine life without a sky daddy.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that if you go by the Quran does not allow and accept homosexuality in any form.
Islam don't accept in any case, and
Yeah.
this is the reality. You know, like if I'm a gay, if I want to be married, and if I go to church, or if I'm Christian or Muslim, church or mosque, that I'm fighting to get right to get married in mosque or in church. If I do this for protest, to show that no, they have to accept everyone, it's a good thing. But if I do that because of I believe in Jesus so much, and Bible or Quran or Muhammad, and I want to get the right, this is like little for me it's very strange, because a religion which is saying every bad things about me, and even punishing me if they have their laws in a country. Why I want to fight to get right to be a part of this, like a Jew. If a Jew want to fight to be a part of Nazis in Germany, you know, and they don't accept him. It's look like this, but this is another topic, I think, because the more politically and more regressive leftists who are in the LGBT organizations too, of course, and even says that Islam is peace, while Islamic State throwing LGBT people from the high buildings and stoning them to death after that. And this is, according to Hadith, is right. So I said in the beginning that in Islam, all the scholars have the same concept, that in all centuries, it is death penalty. But they are disagree how they will kill them. But another thing I want to ask you, Hassan and Jaleh, you know, in Islam, it's very strange. Many people don't know, maybe. Like they say, like the homosexual act is done to, and who done it. You know, execute the one who does it and the one to whom it is done, right? This is the reason I believe in the Muslim world. I don't know what's happened to my camera, but no problem. So in many Muslim countries, many Muslim men don't think they are gays while they have sex with men, just because they are doing. They are not who get done to.
Yeah, top or bottom, isn't it?
Yes, it is stupid. Like we see many imams raping children, boys. Even so, they don't consider themselves gays. What do you think about that? Because it is very strange that, like they say, we have no gays. Very few gays in the Islamic world. Many claim. Because they don't consider who is doing the act, not to get.
Actually, homosexual acts are very much more normal in the Muslim world, because the sexes are, you know, not together in school and everywhere else. So a lot of both girls and boys have, you know, dabble in homosexual activities, because sexual activities that are with the same sex, because they don't have access to the other sex, to the opposite sex, even though they're not gay or belong to a minority, sexual minority, and this is, you know, I don't know, there are not any statistics that you know can back my claim up, but I know from, you know, having talked to both people from Iran, Turkey, Arab countries, that this is actually the case. And also we see, for instance, with Afghanistan, this is a whole culture with the they call it bachebazi, which is actually pedophilia. Even it's like playing with children, you know. It's like it's but I think they call small young boys for bache, which is child.
Can I just say something there? Is that the Quran does mention also in heaven there's going to be all these boys who are beautiful, who are going to serve you. And this is where they get the hint that this is allowed. And this is very important concept for anyone who actually links homosexuality with pedophilia. Most of the pedophiles who have had sex with boys tend to be actually married with children, i.e. they're straight. And the features they go for is that boys are more feminine, they're hairless and stuff like that. Whereas when you speak to gay people, they're not attracted to that. They're attracted to the masculinity. You find them with mustaches and trying to bulk up and look all muscly and manly. So it's and even if they try to be for butchy and and more even when they want to be feminine, they try to put themselves as more man, like more grown up. Than try to look as childish, like dress in school clothes or something like that. So there's a misunderstanding between those two in how this works. But yeah, in the Middle East, this is a very big problem, because the Quran does mention those little boys, and there was no need to have little boys in heaven to serve you.
Yeah.
You already have 72 virgins. You have all
Yeah.
these maids. There is maids as well, and each maid has other maids. If you go into the hadith, they tell you all these maids. So wait a minute, what is the point of these very beautiful little boys?
Right.
Yes, I mean, so it's a hint that this is with, and it was part of the culture. The other thing, another contradiction that now Islamist scholars are battling with, is that the Quran speaks about Dhul Qarnayn, which is the Alexander the Great, and that he conquered and he was beloved by Allah. But when historic researchers looked into Alexander the Great, he's actually at best bisexual. Most likely, he was homosexual. He actually loved men, and there's all these communication with his mother, which is telling him it's fine that you have Antony as your lover and blah blah blah, but can you have some children, because we need a continuation. It wasn't frowned upon. So when they discover now that actually he's a pagan, he's most probably gay, or homosexual. So what did they try to do? They say, oh, Dhul-Qarnayn is not about Alexander the Great. They
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
move it away from him, because they discovered that his story does not fit the Islamic narrative.
Islam doesn't make any sense in many things. Like, in Islam, you can find anything in any way.
Yeah.
Both, like even homosexuality, actually, when they say like Muhammad turned out from his house gays.
Yep.
It's not sure what it mean actually, because how many gays he had in his house, we don't know.
Yeah. Well, there is something about transgender. Do you know that actually Islam? See, I wanted to put it in my slides, but I discovered that
do you mean effeminate?
Yeah, a man who's ready to become a woman. So there's until recently, and I'm speaking about 5 years ago, Al Azhar al-Sharif in Egypt would authorize operations for men to
Yes.
become women.
Iran do too.
And Iran would do that too, and that's because it's not from the Quran, but there's something to do with the Hadith. I couldn't research it. Someone else will probably do a better job than me. Does mention the third sex or intersex, is the fact that it allows it. But before you go celebrating Islam being an LGBTQ friendly, I should point out the reason, because any man who's ready to become a woman under Islamic law means you are ready to become a slave. You are downgrading your right. So it's accepted under that pretense that you must be, you must have something in you. So therefore you can downgrade to become a woman. Whereas women are not allowed to become men or dress like men or behave like men. So please understand that this is not LGBTQ or T for transgender right in Islam. This is Islam saying, if you're
No, the
idiot,
punishment is death, and they do it in different ways. Punishment is death. But as Jamal is saying, there are maybe some, I don't know the theology behind it, but there must be something that does the fact that Taliban, for instance, accepts this these boys who dress out like as girls and have
they dance. don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, dance and have sex with men. They have to have some theological explanation of that I don't know where it comes from. But for instance, in Iran, Khomeini gave a fatwa, and I know also maybe in Egypt a theologist there gave a fatwa that is kind of similar to the one Khomeini gave, that some people are I think they did. Al Azhar University in Egypt. Egypt had an imam who was trapped in, he was a trans person who was an imam and wanted to be a woman, and therefore the fatwa was passed. In Iran, it became law in Iran, so that if you feel trapped in the other sex body, then you can have a transition. And therefore, a lot of homosexuals in Iran feel the pressure to, say that they're trans and get an operation. And Iran is actually the second country in the world after Thailand with the sex change operations. So it's actually a huge problem for the LGBTQ community in Iran.
In conclusion, I just want to say that it is like I put on screen right now. I just Google search it on Memory TV, which is the website translating what Imam says commonly, mainly, and there when you search homophobic or you search gays, you will get a lot of videos. So I just want to point out that it is, I will not be politically correct right now, and it is very stupid to say that if an Islamic terror attack against gay people or infidels or apostates or blasphemers has nothing to do with Islam is just stupid. Because just look at these imams, what they say about Jews, about gays, about blasphemers. So something to do with Islam. And of course, we are talking about the world's most hypocritical lie, a religion, Islam. You can find anything, you can interpret thing as you want, how you want. But what says scholars? What says Islamic Sharia law about homosexuals? Death penalty. It is done. It is that. And how we can change that? We have to expose them, and Muslims have to leave Islam or say the truth and say that this is writing in our book, but we don't like it, and we don't want it. But can they do that? No.
No, they cannot. And the Norwegian government should come out and say, sorry, Muslim organizations, we came here in support of you. We know that you're not for this. Can you give us a theological statement that you're against, discrimination against homosexuality, and that the fact that a death penalty is a sentence for homosexuals in Islam, this is wrong. You need to ask these organizations, ask them to include homosexual organizations within their organizations. Come join the Pride in Oslo. Why is that not happening? All of these things is not happening, and it's not only in Norway but also in other countries
it's unlikely they won't do it because they can't force.
Of course they won't do it.
Because they can't force the church in the same way. We have to be realistic as well. But I want to.
They cannot force the church. They cannot force the church. But if a rabbi or if the difference is that if a rabbi or priest said something like this or made something like this, went out and killed someone in the name of their religion, there would be huge, questioning of those religions, churches and the synagogue, asking them, how is this possible? The same thing does not happen to the Islamic community. Whenever terrorism is a problem, and terrorism is a daily problem in Europe and Western countries, we need to make them accountable, because this Islam is not, it's not, it's not anonymous. There are people who are inside of Western countries saying, I represent Islam. Then you have to answer me about a death penalty, stoning, all of these things that is a problem within your religion, and also the terrorism that we see every day. You have to be accountable.
Jaleh, I agree with you, and they have to stop denying. The leaders of Islamic communities in the world and in the West especially, they have to stop denying. They have to say, according to Sharia penalty, Islamic penalty laws, that blasphemy against Allah is death. Blasphemy against the Prophet Muhammad, death, even if the accuser repents. When it's about Muhammad, not about Allah, you can repent even if you do some blasphemy against Allah. Blasphemy against Islam is death. Adultery, stoning until death in case the adulterer was married, and 100 lashes and exile if he or she were unmarried. The consensus of Islamic Sharia is death. Sodomy, homosexuality, death for the person committing the act as well as for the one receiving it. Theft, cutting off the hands. Drinking alcohol, 80 lashes. Slandering, 80 lashes. Spying for the unbelievers, death. Apostasy, death. They have to accept that their theology is that. They can say, okay, it is that, but we don't agree with that. We don't want that. Minimum they can say this, but first is they have to accept. They have to stop lying.
It's a disgrace. It's so shameful what the Norwegian minister did when the terrorist attack happened in Oslo, and it's the same thing all over the place. The fact that the Muslim leaders in the Western countries are not being, they're not being held accountable at all for what is going on.
We have to stop the media and politicians to make this new normal. We should not forget what happened in Reading. People have been killed just because of who they are, just because of their lifestyle or their choose or what they are.
There are limits to being nice, right? Because, for instance, I know one of my friends, he says, he's homosexual. He says, I have been, hit, or I don't know how violent the physical attack was, but he has been attacked by what he thinks are Muslims 5 times, just going out partying, as a homosexual. He has been attacked 5 times. And he says, but I don't want to, I don't want to be a racist. I don't want to say that there is a problem with that community. But there is a problem with that community. And you are not a racist for calling it out. It's just plain and simple. You treating Muslims as everybody else. If there is a problem within Muslim communities and you don't talk about it, then you're a racist because you're making the difference. Because if it was within the Christian minority, a Christian minority or a Jewish minority or whatever it was, you would talk about it. Then you should also talk about it when it's a problem within the Muslim communities. And this is just, it has to stop. We have to have limits. We have to have, accountability when it comes to, Muslim leaders, Muslim, the fact that we see even criminal acts that are not even within the Muslim theology. It's not theological. It's not Islamic criminal acts. But when you see that Muslims as a group, have more problems with criminal acts than other groups in society, we should talk about that, not as a racist issue, but as this is a problem within this community. We have to talk about it. It hasn't to do with racism. It has to do with reality.
And we have to stop with Islamophobia and victim mentality and making Muslims all victim. This is generalizing Muslims. They are doing that, and they say us like we are doing. We are not doing that, and they are mixing all the time Islam and Muslims, and that they are doing that, not us. So they have to stop that, and we have to talk about Islam.
Yeah.
You have imported Islam 50 years ago, 60 years ago to the West. It is your religion right now, one of the second biggest religion in the West. Then you have to treat Islam like you treated your religion, Christianity. This is what we want. Nothing more.
Can I
Yeah.
just put
Of
some
course.
positivity?
And before
all this?
you say
Yeah.
something, Hassan, first of all, forget. I want to thank you so much for wonderful presentation, and we will publish this alone too. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I'll share it on my page as well. Some positivity to remember from all this is that video from 2013 of those men, that was a time where we didn't have one single ex-Muslim channel on YouTube. That was a time where there was not one single page on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, anywhere. Even on Twitter, there wasn't that many. There wasn't any in English. I know on Facebook. There was no Instagram yet, but now things have moved a lot. So what we need to push more than focus on individuals and group is the message of Islam. If we just focus on what's wrong with Islam, if we just focus on the science, on the logic, on the morality, I think we would win much better than anything else. I stay away from individual stories all the time. I because I know at the end of the day, at the end of the day, whatever happened in India, whatever happened in Jordan, whatever happened in Egypt, if we open people's minds to look at their text again, to look at the hadith again, to look at the story of Muhammad again, they're going to leave it. And in the last survey, and I keep doing this survey of the ex-Muslims on YouTube, the number of followers and stuff, we have reached almost 1 million collectively followers between Apostle Prophet and Harris Sultan and Friendly Ex-Muslim and Nuria and you guys. It's growing at a speed, and I sent a message to Jamil a few weeks ago to congratulate him because your page reached 40,000 followers even though you're on digital lockdown.
Yeah, and shadow banning 50%.
Yes. So, and you're still growing. So what we should be doing, anyone who's feeling frustrated, we should always leave with hope. What we should be doing is pushing this narrative that we are growing. We just need to focus on the message and we will grow. And one of the things I'm doing on my page now is we're translating to other languages. So I have 3 people translating to French, to German, to Dutch, to Bengali, to Iranian.
And I would love to do to Turkish only if I have time. And this is my biggest problem, really.
Yeah, it's
even ex-Muslims of America asked me to help with Turkish translation on Wiki Islam. But unfortunately, the problem, in this whole day, I hope I can cut these videos, the previous ones too, and focusing on our website too. But it has been problematic because of time, only time.
I mean, Jamil, don't stretch yourself. See, you could always ask and make a call out. There'll be lots of closeted ex-Muslim Turks who will be happy to come forward without showing their faces, and they'll translate and they'll help you. You don't have to do everything yourself. So I was thinking, I want my memes to be translated to other languages, and I know a little bit of French and I know other languages I could probably work with, but no, just ask and you'll be surprised how people are eager to help and support in the cause. And let's leave with this positive thing is that we're talking, we're sharing, and it's growing. The ex-Muslim movement is continuing to grow, and we're going to continue to grow that way.
And this is the only thing which is keep me going, because of as much as ex-Muslims stands out and loud with real identity, with name or without name and identity or picture or whatever, they don't need that. But as long as they are standing out and telling their stories or testimonies, the minimum they can do, and they are doing, and it's coming like tsunami. In this August, I will be in Germany. There are big gathering, ex-Muslim gathering in Köln. Mariam Namazi is organizing, and there will come from every country, almost the Western countries, and some from the Middle East. But in the same time, of course, everyone is afraid, have concerns. The last time when I was there, we have to go through 2 different security places, like you are on airport, at the airport, with metal detectors and something like. This is very tragical, but in any case, we will not give up, and more and more people coming. And this is the
and also we need we need the support of, it's not, we have freedom of speech because of Western media, Western countries, Western laws as it is now. And we need the backing of the Western governments, Western law, Western media, right? And this is at the same time as the ex-Muslim movement is growing, the support for free speech, the support for critical thinking when it comes to Islam, and the support for asking the tough questions when it comes to the big Muslim minority in Western countries, that support is failing, right? So our governments, our media, the people who should stand up for free speech and so on, and the big media as well, they're failing us. It's a huge problem, and I'm totally, this is what keeps me going, right? It's the growing community of people like us, people who are ex-Muslims, people who are critical when it comes to Islam, and who are ready to ask the questions. But we need to also hold our governments and the media accountable at the same time, because we're losing the support for free speech and the questioning of Islam, because it's seen more and more. When we even didn't talk about this, because I don't know if we talked about this last time, but the European Council has made this report about Denmark that says criticism of Islam is almost the same as racism, and they also say this in their definition of Islamophobia, that if you criticize Muslims, as a whole, having problems with Western values, then you're a racist. It's not true, because that you can have that opinion, or that theory, and I have that theory, I have that opinion, that Muslims as a group within Europe have problems with free speech, with democracy, with a lot of things, more than other groups. And this is, of course, not Islamophobia or racism. This is reality again.
Jaleh, the only concern I have here, and it's always me being an academic, you all know I'm an academic, is that sometimes we don't even need to go that far. We don't really need to be critical of the society, like of the general public, how they see it based on the Quran. If you just focus on the Quran and the fact that the teaching is not democratic and that the Sharia law is not democratic, it's almost like saying it that this is what they get it from, going to the source of the problem. See, if I keep saying that, the Muslim majority do not accept democracy, if you keep saying it, then it's not going to change anything in my view, because they're thinking, no, that's wrong, I believe in some form of democracy, but not your democracy, blah blah blah. But if I go directly to the Quran and say, well, the Quran say in the Sharia that there's no election, and that is a decision based on the religious leaders, and that's not democracy. No one can argue with me on that point that I'm being Islamophobic. If I go to say underage marriage is actually in the Quran, it doesn't say that you can marry, but it shows you that you can divorce a little girl who hasn't menstruated yet. Therefore, underage marriage is in the Quran. It's going to be a lot harder for someone to come along and say I'm Islamophobic, because I'm pointing to the verse that every sheikh and every person can open it. Every person on the street can open it, read it, rather than say Muslims allow underage marriage.
But I don't think you're right, because I don't think you're right because the fact that people view me or you or Jamal as Islamophobic, it's not coming from the governments in Europe or the media in Europe. It's coming from the Islamists who do not want us to discuss these things. So they don't care if you
not only from them, Jaleh, not only from them.
Not only, but the source. If you go back and see who it really started talking about Islamophobia, it comes from the Islamists in Europe. They have pushed this agenda, saying this is racism. You cannot criticize me. If you criticize me, you're a racist. This is the Islamist agenda, and this is what the governments and the media and European Union and all of these layers who are going with the Islamist agenda, they have to stop up and say, hey, we cannot have you stop criticism of you. Criticism of you is not racism, or criticism of your religion is not racism. Even criticizing, for instance, saying something, a lot of, if you say most Jews circumcise their boys, right? It's not racism. It's just stating something that is true. And if it's true, if it's false and you're doing it to make propaganda against somebody, then okay, maybe that can in some ways be racism. But this is not the fact. As you're saying, we're using theology, we are using their own words against them. And then they call us racist. They call us Islamophobes. Yeah. They even want to prosecute us, right? Yeah. And my whole first book was about actually not only, but a lot of it was about how does Islamic terrorists who are in Denmark, who are supporting ISIS and supporting terrorism, why weren't they prosecuted? That was almost half of my book, right? There were so many pictures from their Facebook updates, the supporting terrorism, right? And I was saying, what is happening? Why aren't they being prosecuted? Maybe a half year later, I was prosecuted, right? Yeah. For sharing a link to a terrorist video, saying it was a private moment of death that I had shared, and this was against the law, right? This law has never been used against anyone in this way when it comes to reporting terrorism and war.
Like George Floyd case.
We have seen a lot of death. Even the George Floyd video was shown by state TV in Denmark for kids. Yeah. It was shown to kids. My daughter was 8. It was they were watching TV news and they showed it to children as young as 7 years old. They showed the picture of the policeman kneeling with his knee on George Floyd's neck. Yeah. And showed a clip of the video to small children. Yep. And this was okay. But me sharing a link to a link where you could press play and see a video of something, and I would not have shared that, and I wouldn't even have seen that video if the Danish media, if the Danish authorities had told the public the truth about what had happened to that girl. In 1,400 articles in Denmark, it said that she was she had died probably in a terrorist attack. They would describe her death as she was dead with signs of violence, or she had marks on her neck.
But they wouldn't say what it is. Yeah, I'm
marks
with you.
Marks of her on her neck after sharp object. Right? She was decapitated. The same goes for the Norwegian girl, and this is going on. The truth is being and this is how alternative realities begin, right? And the polarization that we see in Europe, and especially in Europe, and also in the United States, for instance, it's not good. Alternative, realities going on, and all of, conspiracy theories. It's not good. It's a sign of totalitarian thinking. And
can I interrupt you just a second?
Yeah, of course.
I before we close, I just want to say I can't see any disagreement. Actually, I'm agree with you both. I just want to say I agree with Hassan that yes, we have to go the core of the problem. The Islamic scriptures, theology, everything, and doing enlightenment work to free Muslims from these dogmas. And this is what we have to do, and this is the main thing we are working with. But in the same time, of course, we have to discuss and talk about Islamists, talk about regressive leftists, what they are doing. We have no even freedom of speech actually. All non-platforming we are experiencing, and everything. But in the same time, we have to, of course, talk about the actions of some Muslims, some imams, or we never say all Muslims, and like today priests, or we have to say that governments in the West have to ask imams and mosques why you don't have homosexual imam, why you cannot do marriage in the mosque, same-sex couples, because it's not long ago it was almost like you cannot imagine even in just 40 years ago that there will be some gay imams and gay priests in the West, right?
Yes.
So things have to be changed. So I don't see anything that disagreement. But in any case, and my old friend, old with age, and
of course you're right, Hassan. You're right that we should be very positive when it comes to what we are seeing.
I just want to say
with the ex-Muslim movement and with the critics.
One of my friends said, malaria. Malaria is a sickness which carried by mosquitoes, right? Mostly. And he said all the time to me that we have to stop fighting against one mosquito here and one mosquito there and one mosquito there. We have to go to the swamp. Their mosquito is taking the virus.
Yes.
The bacteria. So we have to attack the swamp and dry it. And this is the only solution. I'm totally agree. And this is what we are doing, like what you are doing. It is amazing. We have to continue with that. And I think the last word I will give Hassan and Jaleh. And it was an amazing live streaming before summer holiday. And I hope it will not happen like critical thing that we have to make one new live streaming in 3 weeks. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jamil and Jaleh, for welcoming me again on your talk and sharing my view. I hope viewers who will watch this now or later would have learned something about where some of the homophobia comes from Islam and where is the source of it. If you were speaking about the swamp, targeting the swamp, this is the swamp. Many people, even Muslim people I've come across, don't know this, and that's why some of them are LGBTQ Muslims. I'm like, did you actually open the Quran and read it? Did you actually look there? There's no, I mean, it's there. They don't look, and for anyone else who's researching it, and I hope the title will make it clear to research it, it opens their mind and start challenging that narrative with the facts. The facts do not match Islam, and this is not only the one place that it doesn't match. If you want to research further, look at scientific errors in the Quran, search that, look at immoral comments in the Quran about the Milk al-Yamin or Ma Malakat Imanukum, which is the women sex slaves in the Quran. Look into the marriage of Muhammad to Aisha. Go search, and then you're going to reach the conclusion that every other person reach, whether they're gay, straight, bi, tri, they always reach the same conclusion that unfortunately this is a 7th century dogma. It doesn't fit. And thank you very much, guys. I hope you have a lovely summer holidays. Yeah.
Yes. And Hassan, I just want to say one more time, you are one of the hosts, so not anymore.
Sure.
So I hope it's okay for you, and it's your
Thank
program.
you.
So,
It'll be a pleasure. Absolutely.
And I just want to add to what you said. The knowledge and critical thinking is the enemy of Islam. Not in Islamic way. Knowledge mean in Islam, I heard and I believe in, right? But the real knowledge with searching, with critical thinking and analyzing. And this is what we have to work on religious communities. And before I forget, I just want to share quickly, give credit to alternative media, the media which I shared there. I shared a video from them today, so I just want to give credit. And this is the source of the video of Stop Islamization of Norway attack on them. So thank you, alternative media. And the last thing is we have to continue with what we are doing. And thank you so much, all people who have been with us today. And we are sorry for that we cannot go through the comments today.
That's right.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you. Of course, you are a part of this as well. We are so happy to have you, Hassan. You're one of the hosts.
Thank you very much. I feel at home. Thank you very much.
And see you on next time, about 3 weeks. Okay, bye bye, and have a nice summer, people.
Peace, everyone.
All of you.
Bye.